Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Denver Nuggets championship window has shut. I think they're not contenders anymore. And this is something I wouldn't have expected a year ago. A year ago in the playoffs, the Denver Nuggets had a grueling 7-game series with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who then went on to win the championship. Just 3 years ago, the Denver Nuggets won their first NBA championship in their franchise history. Less than a year ago, at the start of the NBA season, I thought the Denver Nuggets were going to win the NBA championship. At the start of the season, I looked at what the Denver Nuggets did with a hurt, injured roster in the playoffs. I watched them make moves over the summer. I thought they were good moves. They traded away Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson. And they brought in Jonas Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown. And throughout the season, we saw Peyton Watson step up his game. We saw Jamal Murray take his game to an all-star, all-NBA level. Nikola Jokic, once again, having an MVP caliber season. And despite all of that, despite what seemed like good moves last summer, despite Peyton Watson taking his game up to another level, despite Jamal Murray being all-NBA, despite Jokic, once again, being an MVP caliber player, despite all of that, the Denver Nuggets really didn't have that great of a season. They had a good season, good regular season. And then when it came time for the playoffs, they got embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. Beat in 6 games by a Minnesota Timberwolves team whose half their roster was on the injured list. Game 6 versus the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were missing Ant-Man Edwards. They were missing Dante DiVincenzo. They were missing Ayo Dosunmu. The Nuggets got beat by a Jaden McDaniels and Jalen Clark masterclass. I didn't even know who Jalen Clark was before the playoffs started. But that is what happened. The Denver Nuggets got embarrassed by the Timberwolves. And while all these other teams in the West have been making moves, for better, for worse, the Nuggets really haven't made any moves. And to be honest, their team wasn't that great to where the point where, like, oh, let's not make that many changes. No, they didn't have that great of a roster. And now we're looking, like, even if next season Nikola Jokic once again has another MVP caliber season, Jamal Murray maybe has another all-star, maybe another all-NBA season, Peyton Watson maybe steps up his game again. Even if all that happens, you look at their roster, it's not enough. It's not good enough, strictly put. And, you know, when you look at things that have happened with the Nuggets over the last few years, they fired Michael Malone. They fired him. They brought in David Adelman. He's not a bad coach. I'm not trying to say that. But they fired their head coach of 10 years, their championship head coach. They fired him. And they make all these moves. They get rid of Michael Porter Jr. They bring in Cam Thomas. Everyone thought it'd be a great... Cam Johnson, not Cam Thomas. That'd have been a really bad move. They bring in Cam Johnson. And he's not as good as was to be expected. They bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. He's already gone. He's left Denver for Miami. They bring in Jonas Valanciunas, who didn't even want to play for the Nuggets. He wanted to go. I think he got traded there from Sacramento. He wanted to leave and go play in Greece. The Nuggets convinced him to stay, I guess. And what was it? Last week, they waived him. That's their backup center. They waived their backup center. They bring in Bruce Brown. He's not as good as he once was. Aaron Gordon last year, he had a 50-point game. He had a 50-point game real early into the season, but he's getting older and he's injury prone. Perhaps he's not as good as he once was. So when you look at the Denver Nuggets roster, it's really, I struggle to look at that roster and think this is a team that is a legitimate title contender. I mean, that goes for pretty much every team in the Western Conference not named OKC or San Antonio, but like when I look at the Nuggets, I'm like, man, there's a few teams There's quite a few teams I could see being better than them. OKC and San Antonio, obviously. I can see the Timberwolves being better than them. I can see the Rockets being better than them. I can see my Phoenix Suns being better than the Nuggets. The Lakers could be better than the Nuggets. All right, honestly, you look at the Jazz, the Utah Jazz, they have more talent than the Denver Nuggets. I'm not necessarily saying they'll have a better record, but the Jazz are on the up and up. All right, you look at their roster, they're on the up and up. I cannot say the same thing about the Denver Nuggets. All right, they're stagnant at best when it comes to their roster quality. I don't see the Denver Nuggets as a team that's, 100% going to be, a top 5 team in the West. I could see them being a play-in team, to be honest. And it's crazy because just 3 years ago, they won the championship. Just 3 years ago, they won the championship. And a couple of years ago, all right, they lose a tough series versus the Timberwolves in 7. They lose a tough series last year versus the OKC Thunder in 7. And then this year, they really straight up get embarrassed by the Timberwolves in 6. And now it just, it feels like this Denver roster, there's not much you can do to make it better. But it does, and it does seem like it's getting worse. So it'll be interesting to see how they play next season, because I'm not anticipating some spectacular season from this team. Jokic is a great player. Jokic is one of the greatest players of all time. Jamal Murray is fantastic. But with the roster that they have, I just don't think this is a legit title contending team by any definition. As much as you want to stretch your idea of what a title contending team is, I don't see the Denver Nuggets as that. At all. I made a video last week talking about how I think there's 7 teams in the Eastern Conference that I could see going to the NBA Finals. I can't see the Denver Nuggets getting to... I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't make the second round